Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the Binance. This story has the perfect trifecta of all the things we're not supposed to talk about: money, politics, and religion, because crypto is not even money at this point, it's a religion. So this story is between two of the world's biggest crypto exchanges, FTX and Binance. Now, Binance is the world's biggest crypto exchange. Last year, they traded over $7 trillion worth of volume on their platform. To get an idea of just how big that number is, that represents more than half of all of the value that was exchanged in all of crypto in all of last year. Now, FTX, by comparison, which was created by billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, was the fastest growing crypto exchange. They helped bail out companies like BlockFi and Voyager this year, and they spent an insane amount of money on partnerships with Steph Curry, Tom Brady. They did a Super Bowl commercial with Larry David, and they own the FTX Arena in Miami. Needless to say, both of these guys are huge competitors of each other. But in a crazy turn of events this week, Binance saved FTX from total collapse. Here's how it happened. On November 6th, the owner of Binance, CZ, tweeted to the world that as part of their equity exit out of FTX, they were paid roughly $2.1 billion in combination of BUSD, which is a stablecoin owned by Binance, and FTT, which is a token owned by FTX. And that due to recent discovery, they were going to sell their whole share of FTT tokens. Then on November 5th, someone noticed a massive transfer of 23 million FTT tokens inside of Binance, worth roughly $585 million. CZ later confirmed that it was in fact him transferring this money because he was planning to eventually sell it because he learned a lot from the collapse of Terra Luna and he wanted to avoid that potentially happening to Binance or being involved with anyone that might be at risk. This, of course, sent the price of FTT tokens to crater. Now, Sam responded to Binance by saying that Alameda Research, which is a sister company of FTX, would gladly buy up each and every single FTT token and that their balance sheet was perfectly fine. Of course, the next day, things took a crazy turn. This all got started when a document was shared on CoinDesk about Alameda Research's balance sheet. Now, just so you understand, Alameda Research, FTX, and Sam Bankman-Fried are one and the same. Even though they're different entities, they all belong to the same person. Now, that document revealed that Alameda Research had roughly $14.6 billion on their balance sheet as of June 30th this year. Now, that's a lot, but it was also revealed that most of their assets were held in their own token, FTT, that they magically printed. Out of that $14.6 billion, roughly $8 billion was an FTT. Now, by that point, before this whole collapse, the market cap of FTT was a little over $2 billion. This just means that even if FTX wanted to liquidate their assets, they wouldn't be able to get anywhere near the value they claimed they had on their balance sheet. That's when things started to go south and when everyone started to withdraw their money out of FTX. That's when FTX started to see a liquidity crunch, and by Tuesday, things got so bad that Binance put out an LOI, a letter of intent to unofficially buy FTX and to bail them out of trouble. CZ then tweeted that the lessons he's learned is to never use your own token as collateral, to never borrow money if you run a crypto business, and to always have massive reserves. But in the meantime, everyone is wondering why things got so bad. Please understand that none of this is confirmed as 100% fact. This is just a working theory of how it could have allegedly happened, and it goes something like this. This is the famous infinite money glitch where a company creates a hypothetical token called FTT. They could then, after magically printing this magic money out of nowhere, give it artificial value by giving it a use case, a utility, and then buying up a majority of its supply and then burning the rest to increase its value. Now, after this token gets valuable, they could then hypothetically and allegedly send these tokens to their sister company, Alameda Research, where they could then show on their balance sheet potentially actual profits and actual value, where they would then leverage that balance sheet and borrow against it, and they would borrow other assets, other stablecoins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is. After borrowing these assets, they could then send all of those cryptos back to FTX, and doing this, you have created the infinite money glitch where you could print as much money as you want. This could help explain how the value of FTT's tokens had such a huge effect on FTX's ability to liquidate, because this strategy works until it doesn't. If there's a run on the bank and everyone gets scared and tries to withdraw all of their their money all at once, then it's time to pay up. Because when people sell, they also have to convert their stablecoins and their assets like FTT tokens into actual money. But if that platform doesn't have the money to pay people, it has to liquidate its own assets, which in this case is magically printed FTT tokens. But if those FTT tokens can't be liquidated because they're not really worth anything, then you're not really holding anything of real value. And this is made especially worse if those customer deposits were lent out to other institutions. Now, this is still a little too confusing to me because it doesn't help explain how a company as big as FTX, worth roughly $32 billion, could still collapse almost overnight just because a competitor threatened to sell $600 million worth of assets. So here's a better explanation. Imagine that I print 32 playing cards and then I sold one of them for $1 billion. Well, now my market cap shows I'm worth $32 billion, but that's just the market assuming that I could sell another card for another $1 billion. But once the market finds out I've printed most of these cards, most of my net worth is inside of these cards, and there are no buyers to buy my cards, then I'm not really worth $32 billion. Now, I'm not saying that this is exactly what happened. This is just a theory that could help explain what allegedly happened and how FTX got itself into a liquidity crunch where Binance had to save them. But for now, there's just a bunch of questions like, now that FTX is going to be bailed out, who's going to bail out Voyager? And is it still going to be the FTX arena or the Binance arena? Let me share with you some theories and give you my personal thoughts. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. So now that crypto is collapsing, it's a good idea to diversify and own some tangible assets. But what's even better than that is to give those fun tangible assets as gifts for the upcoming holidays. And thanks to today's sponsor, Established Titles, you can do exactly that and become a lord or lady. Established Titles allows you to call yourself a lord or lady because of a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies. So if you ever wanted a fancy title for yourself, you can now do that by owning as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land. Established Titles also works with global charities One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future to support global reforestation efforts. It's a great way to help the beautiful woodlands of Scotland while making an amazing last-minute gift. I also have my very own certificate of proclamation now that I'm Lord Andrei Jikh, and your certificate will feature a unique plot number with which you can use to identify the exact location of your land. Each title pack comes with at least 1 square foot of dedicated land on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, along with an official certificate and a crest. Now, the first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link down below will be within a few minutes of walking distance from my own, but the best part is that Established Titles is still running their Black Friday sale, and if you use the code Andre10, you'll get an additional 10% off. All you have to do is go to establishedtitles.com/Andre10 to help support the channel, and your new title can be used on credit cards, plane tickets, and to say that you own land as a millennial. Which is pretty crazy. Thank you, Established Titles, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Now let's get back to it. Now, the original working theory behind why all of this started to happen is because Binance saw a competitor. They saw FTX grow as fast as they did, they saw some cracks, and they took advantage. Now, this could be true, but I personally don't think this is the correct theory because anything that hurts FTX would equally hurt Binance. And I think everyone has a vested interest to make sure that crypto grows together as a whole. Now, the second theory about why this might have happened is a little more interesting because it involves something that no one wants to talk about, which is politics. It's no secret that Sam Bankman-Fried has donated over $40 million to political campaigns to both Democrats and Republicans this year alone. Sam also put out framework that the crypto industry didn't support. Binance really didn't like the framework because they accused them of working behind their backs with regulators that would really ultimately harm crypto by increasing censorship, decreasing decentralization, destroying the value of Web3 while eliminating the US from participating in the markets. So from that point on, this theory suggests that both SBF and FTX became competitors of the entire crypto space because the crypto space doesn't really agree with FTX's approach of working with the regulators. Now, theory number 3 is that Alameda Research and FTX were insolvent, which we now know to be technically true. So with all that said, here are my overall personal thoughts. I see this from 2 points of view. Binance, for example, has taken a really strong stance on decentralization. They don't really seem like the kind of company to me to work within the confines of the traditional banking system. And it makes perfect sense why. Because Bitcoin and crypto was created to be permissionless, decentralized, and without any kind of oversight from an authoritative entity like a government. So it makes sense why Binance has chosen this path, why DeFi is taking this path, and I like this strategy, and I'll explain why in a second. But then there's another strategy with FTX, which is also interesting because it's focused on decentralization. They want to work with regulators to get oversight, and it strategically puts themselves at the forefront of the US market. And I like this strategy as well because I think it's the fastest way to make Bitcoin safer. And the safer people feel is the way we get the approval for the Bitcoin spot ETF, which would send the price of Bitcoin much, much higher. That's all a great thing too. But I can see how these strategies conflict with each other because to the lobbyer go the spoils, and not necessarily to the competitor, which makes sense why we're seeing all of this competition. But in the end, here's what I think will happen. We're gonna see two different opinions diverge even more. The first opinion is gonna be that it's okay to work with regulators to make Bitcoin and crypto safer. Safer means better, right? But that means taking a lot longer because we're trying to appeal to someone else, and that someone else is the government, which doesn't really align with what Bitcoin was supposed to be. The second opinion, though, is to allow the free market to do its thing, like what DeFi is doing. Let it develop itself because that would create the ultimate product because it is a self-evolving system, and this is what we're seeing with Binance. We're seeing proof of reserves as the next step to protect customer funds. This system will naturally want to evolve and develop itself into a better one. But the problem with this approach is that each and every step of the evolutionary process is extremely painful. In 2017, for example, we saw the creation and collapse of ICOs. In 2021, the creation and collapse of NFTs. In 2022, the collapse of 3AC, Terra Luna, Voyager, Celsius, FTX, and that's the market figuring out what works and what does not. It'll continue to make a better product, but the downside is that more and more people will have to lose more and more money. Now, on the flip side of the token, though, we have government compliance, which makes Bitcoin safer. But the downside of safety is government compliance. So both paths have merit. I think they'll continue kicking and fighting and screaming at each other, trying to prove which one is better. But in the end, the consumer wins. That's because the more choices consumers have, the better off we are. And in the background, Bitcoin will continue to evolve and improve itself, and even though the actors might change, the story never will. The story of financial independence and freedom and how Bitcoin helped get us there. And when it's ready, it won't need to ask anyone's permission. In the same way that the internet took over the world without asking for permission. It just became the better, faster way of doing things, and we all started using it. That's how I see crypto evolving. But as usual, have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin right here. Please don't forget to move it offline onto a cold storage wallet like a Ledger. Links are all down below. You can grab your free stocks. Links are also down below where you can track them automatically with the spreadsheet. Link down below in my Patreon. Love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you back here on Monday, Friday, sometimes Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.